You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, November 17th show. We bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in all areas regarding your money. We're here to support you in today's market. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. But to connect with the guests that we have on the show, please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Danielle Madrid of Havens Community Connections. And we're going to be just discussing and talking about domestic violence today. And Danielle, I want to thank you as well for coming in first time in studio. We've got a couple newbies in here, so thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of
so much too.
And a little bit about Danielle Madrid, founder and executive director, has survived domestic abuse and is now thriving. Recognizing the social stigma and unique financial complexities when abuse occurs in affluent relationships, she created Havens Community Connections to specialize in breaking the silence of hidden abuse and these situations. Havens' overall goal is to help every woman needing assistance to build a life raft to safe and healthy futures regarding their financial situation. And I just really love it. One of the things that I loved about having this platform and being able to bring a lot of different unique people and their unique messages is that you see over and over again that people's tragedies allows them to triumph and bring their message and their uniqueness to the world. And I just wanted to give a shout out for that, Danielle, because I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Havens Community Connections. So, why Havens, Danielle? Is there a story behind that?
There is a story behind Havens. Havens was born out of my own story. Mm-hmm. I have survived domestic violence both in poverty and in affluence. And what I noticed that the only thing that changed was my tax bracket.
Yeah.
And my experience trying to get out was much different in both situations. When I was poor and hadn't yet finished college and had a degree, people were more likely to believe me. Living in poverty and living in a trailer park and that type of thing. It was a totally different environment. There was much more believability. There were far more resources because I didn't have much money. Mm-hmm. I was a single mom. So resources were readily available to me. People would believe me. They weren't surprised by behavior, but yet living in affluence, something happens when you're in an environment when your peers are highly educated or work in a corporate environment. Mm-hmm. We tend to think that, well, that doesn't really happen to people like us. So it's more dismissed. Mm-hmm. People are I wasn't as believed. It was harder for people to believe.
That's interesting.
I mean, when your husband is you're living in a poverty-ridden trailer park.
Yeah.
And people will believe you, but when your husband or significant other is a corporate executive, maybe a leader in the church, teaching Bible study,
makes sense.
That's a really hard sell. Wow. And the resources that were available when I was much younger weren't there for me. I couldn't financially qualify for any of the resources, even though there were resources. Not everybody has access to resources just because they're there.
Sure. So what does Havens offer for women?
We offer a unique coaching program. We have coaches, and I chose the word coach over advocate. So when people think about coaching, we're not life coaches.
Okay.
We're just women who have been there. And I think because words matter, when I think about the word advocate, it feels like victims need advocates.
Yes.
A coach just feels so much more dignified. It's a peer-to-peer type of relationship. It's empowering. So we have a coaching program of women who have been there. And we've gone through not only our own experiences, we're well on the other side of domestic violence, but we've gone through a 2.5-day training program that the therapists on our team have developed to help us to walk very successfully with our clients.
Yeah, I love that. And in the spirit of one-timing, which is the coaching program I do for business professionals and our real estate partners, is the solutions are the same. It's a plug and play, but it's being able to provide solutions that are unique to what these women are going through. And you've already been there, as well as the other women that you work with. That's where they're going to find their answers. And so it's really powerful.
We help them to connect, hence the Havens Community Connections.
Yes.
We walk beside them, supporting them, validating their experience, and we help them to connect to the resources that they can find very helpful. Normally it's our first responders, the therapists who specialize in domestic abuse, the lawyers, the family law attorneys who understand domestic violence, they're experienced with and have comfortable with some high conflict divorce. That's going to be important. Financial advisors. Maybe she needs a locksmith, a window cleaner. What does she need? We have the resources that when she's ready to jump ship, she's got a life raft.
Yeah, love that.
Well, you kind of leaned into like a stereotype, like affluence, and how people don't think that is, related to domestic violence and, people in poverty. That's a poverty problem, which isn't true. And it's not true also that there isn't domestic violence with men is on top of, women, which most people think it's a woman thing. It's a problem in general. And it sounds like you guys serve men too. Is that correct?
We would love to serve men. Here's the thing is that 1 in 4 men, 1 in 3 women find themselves victims of their own relationships. However, if we would love to serve men if we had more men who have been in abusive situations and abusive relationships steps forward to say, hey, I've been abused and I would love to help. They're just not.
Yeah.
I mean, as women, as coaches, women who have been there, we can't walk in the shoes of a man who's been abused. That's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
So we would love to have men step forward and join our team.
Yeah.
That's
to help.
interesting.
Because you'd need to have that support from a man that was going through that, versus the women aren't going to be able to have that same connection with a man that's going through abuse as another man would.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a call to action. If we have any listeners that are listening to the show right now, our men listeners that have been through abuse and feel that they've gone through the healing process and they have something to be able to support and have that passion to give back, definitely call into the show. So, Danielle, what are some of the signs to look for to recognize that you're in an abusive relationship?
Well, first I want to say that abuse isn't necessarily about anger management. Abuse is a mentality of power and control. It's about wanting to exercise power over another human being. And we all know about the obvious, the physical abuse, but we don't often talk about the other signs, the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, the financial abuse. I mean, it can be something like your partner always texting you, wanting to know your whereabouts all the time, isolating you from family or friends, wanting to monopolize your time.
And do you see that normally leads to a higher level of abuse or another level added on to that, or?
It does. Abuse never stays static. It never just stays the same or diminishes. When there's an element of power control, it will increase.
Yeah.
The severity of the abuse will increase over time, as will the frequency. So it never gets better.
Yeah.
Well, I have a daughter at home, as we all know, London. She's going to be 3 in February. I'm certain that it's probably an issue for children, too. Is there help for kids?
We don't provide direct support for kids as far as our coaching program goes, but we do have the resources to help moms and hopefully soon dads to be able to locate those resources that they can find to help their children. And really, one of the biggest ways those of us who have been in abuse can help our children is simply by getting out and getting ourselves healthy.
Yeah. So I'm sure that this is a big challenge in a lot of abuse situations, to where you have a friend or a family member that knows that there's some type of abuse going on, and maybe is giving advice but not the right advice, or maybe is afraid to give advice because their friend does not want to hear it. And so what advice would you give to someone that knows abuse is happening? What should they do? What are the proper steps?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. And the first, I would say not to be confrontational, not to be judgmental, not to say, hey, he's really a jerk, you should really leave him.
Yeah.
But come at relate to your friend or family member with empathy and compassion. Hey, I noticed that I haven't seen you around for a while. You're not really hanging out with us as your friends very often. What's going on with that? And is that okay with you? Or I've noticed that your partner is texting you an awful lot. How does that feel? How does that make you feel? What's going on with that? It's really important not to be judgmental in any way or confrontational. It's really compassion.
I like what you were doing because they were questions. They were direct questions to allow that just opens up and we all know that in sales and business, you ask questions so that the answers and the solution to what they're looking for is actually coming from your client. And so same thing here is you really want to ask those specific questions and allow that to open up. And I imagine if they don't really expand on that, you can ask it a different way. So just opening that space for them to be able to communicate what's really happening. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, love that.
So Danielle, how can people get connected with Havens?
Well, we're on Facebook and we have a website, havenscc.org. That's HAVENSCC.org. You can email us confidentially at liferaft@havenscc.org, or you can call our helpline. That's also very confidential. Everything we do is confidential, and that number is 425-610-8612.
So, and that's great to know that the platform, and no matter where they're at, everything is strictly conversation. So the conversations are strictly confidential. So the conversations that you are having are really intimate in that space. So when you talk about coaching, is this a group coaching, one-on-one coaching? How does that look?
It's one-on-one. So when somebody will call the 610-8612 hotline or email us, she'll be connected with first somebody who will just ask questions, find out what her or hopefully his situation is, determine what the needs are, and then match that person with the coach that best fits their needs. And it's really up to the coach and the client to develop the type of relationship that works best for them.
Got it.
It's personal, just one-on-one.
Do you do the coaching as well, Danielle?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Love that.
So what do you find that people need most as far as help out of the gate? Like, what do you guys provide? Like step by step, how does that usually work? Is it case by case type thing?
It's case by case, but we need help as well, Havens as an organization.
Oh. We
definitely need help.
So talk about that. How can people assist and help?
We can, because of the current climate, we've been seeing an influx of calls. So one, we do need more coaches.
Okay.
Men and women to come forward who have been on the other side to say, I want to help. And we also do need funding. It's really as little as $90 will help one person. $90 will give somebody a month's worth of coaching support.
Wow. Okay. Well, Danielle, as we're wrapping up our time here today, what would be a final word of wisdom coming from the space yourself that you would give to someone that might be listening today that's going through some domestic abuse?
You're not alone.
Yeah.
And there's help, and don't be afraid to speak out.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with us on our show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And this is Tina Mitchell signing off for the day.
And your stuttering co-host, Keelan Harvey, with my mouthpiece.
Love it. We'll be back here same time, same place next week, next Saturday, right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW. Have a great weekend, everyone.